For 4 years, I paid rent to live in my parents' basement. $500 a month, never late, never a complaint. I thought I was building something. I thought I was being a good son. I thought family meant sacrifice. Then one Friday night, my parents sat me down and told me they were raising my rent. Not because of inflation, not because of bills, but because my little brother needed help paying off his credit card debt, and I was expected to cover it without question. Before I get into what happened next, let me know in the comments where you are watching from today. Hit that like button and subscribe if you have not already. Stick around because what my parents did next made me question everything I thought I knew about family loyalty. My name is Tomasa, and I grew up in a 2-story house in the suburbs of Columbus, Ohio. Nothing fancy, just a regular middle-class home with a decent backyard and a basement that my dad converted into a livable space when I was in high school. I am the oldest of 2 sons. My younger brother Derek is 4 years younger than me, which made him 24 when all of this went down. Growing up, I was always the responsible one. The one who got a job at 16 bagging groceries at the local supermarket. The one who saved up and bought his own car at 18, a beat-up Honda Civic with 140,000 miles on it. I paid for my own gas, my own insurance, my own everything. My parents never had to worry about me. I went to community college after high school because I knew I could not afford a 4-year university without drowning in debt. Got my certification as an HVAC technician and landed a decent job making about $45,000 a year. Not rich by any means, but enough to live comfortably and save for the future. Derek, on the other hand, was always different. He got sick a lot as a kid, nothing serious, but enough that my parents babied him constantly. When he wanted to go to a 4-year college, they found a way to make it happen. When he changed his major 3 times in 3 years and still had not graduated by age 24, they made excuses. Derek is still finding himself, they would say. Derek needs more time. Meanwhile, Derek was living in his childhood bedroom upstairs, paying 0 rent, working part-time at a coffee shop, maybe 20 hours a week. He had all the latest gadgets, went out with his friends every weekend, and never seemed stressed about anything. When I turned 24, I made a decision that I thought was smart. Instead of moving out and paying $1,000 or more for an apartment, I would stay in my parents' basement and pay them rent. It would help them out financially, and I could save money faster for a down payment on my own place someday. My parents agreed to $500 a month. That seemed fair to me. The basement had its own entrance, a small bathroom, and enough space for a bed, a desk, and a little living area. I paid my own electricity through a separate meter, covered my own internet, and bought all my own groceries. All in, I was spending about $750 a month, which was still cheaper than living on my own. For 4 years, this arrangement worked. Or at least I thought it did. Looking back, there were signs I chose to ignore. Little things that should have made me question what was really going on. Derek never contributed a single dollar to the household. When I brought it up once, my mom shut me down immediately. "Your brother is going through a hard time," she said. "You have a stable job. You do not need to worry about what Derek does or does not pay." Then there was my dad. Every few months he would come to me with some story about being short on cash before payday. Could I lend him $200? $300. He always promised to pay me back, but somehow he never did. I stopped keeping track after the total hit somewhere around $2,000. I told myself it was fine. This is what family does. You help each other out. You do not keep score. That Friday night changed everything. I came home from work tired and sweaty after a long day of installing air conditioning units in a new office building. All I wanted was a shower and maybe some leftover pizza. Instead, my mom called down to the basement and asked me to come upstairs. "Your father and I need to talk to you about something important," she said. The living room felt different when I walked in. My parents were sitting on the couch together, which they rarely did. Derek was nowhere to be seen. My dad would not look me in the eye. My mom had that expression she always gets when she is about to deliver bad news, but wants to pretend it is for my own good. "Starting next month," my mom began, "we need to raise your rent to $800. I blinked. $800? That was a 60% increase out of nowhere. Why, I asked. Is something wrong with the house? Did your property taxes go up? My dad cleared his throat. Cost of living has gone up, he mumbled. The family needs more money to cover expenses. Something about the way he said it made my stomach tighten. Family expenses. I looked at my mom. Is Derek going to start paying rent too? Her face flickered just for a second before she recovered. Derek's situation is different. We will handle Derek. This is about your contribution to the household. I wanted to argue. I wanted to point out how unfair this was. But I was tired, and I told myself maybe they really were struggling. Maybe I was being selfish for questioning it. So I agreed. Fine, I said. $800 starting next month. My mom smiled like I had just given her a gift. Thank you, sweetie. I knew you would understand. I did not understand. Not yet. But I would. The first thing I noticed was Derek's new phone. About a week after my parents raised my rent, I came upstairs to grab a glass of water and saw Derek sitting at the kitchen table scrolling through what was obviously a brand new iPhone. The latest model. I knew because I had been eyeing it myself, but decided I could not justify the cost. Nice phone, I said. Derek barely looked up. Yeah, Mom and Dad got it for me. My old one was dying. I felt something cold settle in my chest. They got it for him. Right after raising my rent, because the family needed more money. A few days later, I walked past Derek's room and noticed his door was open. Inside, I saw a gaming setup that definitely had not been there before. New monitor, new chair, new everything. I kept my mouth shut. I watched. I waited. The truth came out 2 weeks later, and it came from the last person I expected. My Aunt Ruth is my mom's older sister. She lives about 20 minutes away, and I have always liked her. She is direct, honest, and does not play favorites with her nieces and nephews. One Sunday she called and asked if I could come over to look at her air conditioner. It was making a weird noise, and she did not want to pay a repair company when her nephew could do it for free. I did not mind. I liked Aunt Ruth, and the work only took about an hour. Turned out her air filter was clogged, and one of the coils needed cleaning. Easy fix. Afterward, she made me iced tea, and we sat on her porch talking. That is when she said it. I feel so bad for your parents, she said casually. Having to bail out Derek like that. $12,000 is a lot of money. I set my glass down slowly. I am sorry. What Aunt Ruth's eyes widened. She realized immediately that she had said something she should not have. You did not know what? She hesitated, then sighed. Derek ran up $12,000 in credit card debt. Your parents have been paying it off for him. I assumed they told you since you lived there and all. My hands were shaking. $12,000. I did the math in my head. An extra $300 a month in rent. That was exactly what a minimum payment on a large credit card balance would look like. How did he spend $12,000? I asked. Aunt Ruth shrugged. Shopping mostly. Clothes, electronics, video games. Plus he took a trip to Miami with his girlfriend a few months back. Put the whole thing on credit and could not pay it off. I drove home in silence. My thoughts were so loud I could not hear the radio. Everything made sense now. The sudden rent increase, the new phone, the gaming setup. My parents were not struggling. They were funneling my money directly to Derek so he could maintain his lifestyle while I worked 6 days a week. That night I confronted them. I found my parents watching television and asked to turn it off. We needed to talk. I know about Derek's credit card debt, I said. I know that is why you raised my rent. My mom's face went pale. My dad suddenly found something interesting to look at on the floor. Who told you that? My mom asked. It does not matter who told me. What matters is that you lied to me. You said the family needed more money for expenses. What you meant was, Derek needed more money for his expenses, and you expected me to pay for it. My mom shifted into defensive mode. Derek is your brother. Family helps family. You have a good job, a stable income. Is it really so terrible to help your brother get back on his feet? He spent $12,000 on clothes and vacations, I shot back. He is not on his feet because he refuses to stand up. And you enable him. You have always enabled him. My dad finally spoke up. Watch your tone, Tomasa. Your mother and I make the decisions in this house. I am 28 years old, Dad. I pay rent. I pay my own bills. I am not a child, and I deserve to know when my money is being used to bail out my brother without my consent. Derek appeared in the doorway, then drawn by the raised voices. What is going on? Your brother is upset that we helped you with your credit card, my mom said. Apparently he thinks families should not support each other. Derek rolled his eyes. Seriously, Tomasa. You are upset about money. I had no idea you were so greedy. Something inside me went very quiet, very cold. I am not greedy, I said slowly. I am realistic. I work hard for what I have. I do not expect handouts, and I definitely do not expect to subsidize your shopping habits without even being asked. Nobody said anything. The silence was thick enough to choke on. I turned and walked back down to the basement. Behind me, I heard my mom say to my dad, "He will calm down. He always does." She was wrong. The next morning, I started searching for apartments. I had always assumed I could not afford to live on my own, but when I actually sat down and did the math, I realized I had been wrong. With the rent increase, I was already paying close to what I would pay for a studio or one-bedroom apartment in a decent area. Add in the electricity, internet, and groceries I was already covering, and I was spending almost $900 a month to live in my parents' basement. For that same money, I could have my own place, my own space, my own life free from the constant reminders that I was worth less to my family than my brother. I started quietly. Called a few places, scheduled some viewings, kept everything off my parents' radar. They thought I was still sulking, which was fine with me. Let them think whatever they wanted. 2 weeks later, I found the perfect place. A one-bedroom apartment about 15 minutes from my job. $750 a month including water and trash. Small but clean with a tiny balcony that looked out over a courtyard. The neighborhood was quiet and safe, mostly young professionals and small families. I signed a 1-year lease that same day. Put down the deposit. Got my keys. Then I started moving my stuff out piece by piece. Every day when my parents were at work and Derek was either sleeping or at his coffee shop job, I would load up my car with boxes and drive them to my new apartment. Clothes first, then books, then kitchen stuff. I bought a mattress and had it delivered directly to the new place. Same with a small couch I found on sale. My parents did not notice a thing. They were too busy being themselves. About a week before I planned to move out completely, my mom knocked on my basement door. She wanted to talk. "I need to let you know," she said, sitting down on the edge of my bed. "Starting next month, we are going to need to raise your rent again. $950. I kept my face neutral. "Why? Derek has decided to go back to school and finish his degree. We want to support him. It is an investment in his future." I almost laughed. An investment in his future. What about my future? What about the 4 years I had spent paying rent to this family while Derek contributed nothing? But I did not say any of that. Instead, I asked, "Did you think about asking me first, before deciding to raise my rent again?" My mom looked genuinely confused. "You are our son, Tomasa. You live in our house. We do not need to ask your permission for anything." I nodded slowly. "Okay, Mom. Thanks for letting me know." She patted my hand and left, satisfied that she had handled the situation. 3 days later, my family had dinner together. This was rare because we usually all ate at different times, but my mom had made pot roast and insisted everyone sit down at the table like a real family. Derek spent most of the meal talking about a concert he was going to the following weekend. Some big-name artist at a venue downtown. He and his girlfriend had tickets. "That sounds expensive," my dad said. "How much were the tickets?" $400 for both," Derek said casually. "But it is worth it. You only live once." I looked at my parents, waiting for them to say something. To ask where Derek got $400 when he could barely cover his credit card payments. To express any concern at all about his spending habits. Instead, my mom smiled. "That sounds wonderful, honey. You deserve to have some fun." I put down my fork. "Where did you get $400? Derek shrugged. "Mom and Dad gave it to me. Early birthday present." "Your birthday is in 6 months," I pointed out. So nothing." I looked at my parents. My mom avoided my eyes. My dad focused very hard on cutting his pot roast into tiny pieces. I understood then that nothing would ever change. Not as long as I was there to pick up the slack. Not as long as my money was flowing into the family pot for Derek to scoop out whenever he wanted. I did not say another word for the rest of dinner. That Saturday I made my move. I knew my parents were planning to visit some relatives about an hour away. They would be gone most of the day. Derek had mentioned something about going to his girlfriend's place. The house would be empty. I rented a small moving van and got everything out of the basement in about 4 hours. The furniture I had accumulated over the years, my television, my clothes, everything. By mid-afternoon, my basement room was completely empty, except for the furniture that had come with it. I left the basement key on the kitchen counter. Next to it I placed a note. I have moved out. I will be in touch when I am ready. Do not worry about me. I am fine. Tomasa. I did not leave my new address. By the time I got to my apartment, unloaded the van, and returned it to the rental place, it was early evening. My phone had been blowing up for hours. 17 missed calls from my mom, 5 from my dad, 2 from Derek, plus about a dozen text messages. Mom. Where are you? Why did you take all your stuff? Call me immediately. Mom. Tomasa, this is not funny. Answer your phone. Mom. I am worried sick. Your father and I came home and your room is empty. What is going on? Dad. Call me. Derek. What the heck? Tomasa. Mom is crying. What did you do? I read every message. Then I turned off my phone, lay down on my new bed in my new apartment, and stared at the ceiling. For the first time in 4 years, I could not hear my parents' footsteps above me. I could not hear Derek's music bleeding through the walls. I could not hear my mom calling me to come help with something or my dad asking to borrow money. All I could hear was silence and my own breathing. And slowly, very slowly, the sound of my heart rate returning to normal. I was free. The first week was hard. I will not pretend it was not. Even when you know you made the right decision, even when you can feel it in your bones, there is still grief, still doubt, still those 3 a.m. moments when you lie awake and wonder if you went too far. I kept replaying the messages from my mom in my head. Selfish, ungrateful, breaking this family apart. The words hurt, even though I knew they were designed to manipulate me. Even though I knew she was more upset about losing my rent money than losing my presence. The second day my Aunt Ruth called. Her voice was careful, measured. Your mom called me, she said. She is frantic. She does not know where you are. I know, I said. I need you to do me a favor, Aunt Ruth. Please do not tell her my address. I am safe. I just need space. There was a long pause on the other end of the line. Then Aunt Ruth sighed. I understand, Tomasa. And for what it is worth, I think you did the right thing. Your parents have been favoring Derek for years. Everyone in the family sees it. We just never felt like it was our place to say anything. That meant more to me than she could know. She promised to keep my location secret, and she kept that promise. The turning point came about 2 weeks into my new life. I was at work installing a new heating system in a commercial building when my coworker Marcus asked if I was okay. Marcus is about 10 years older than me, married with 2 kids, the kind of guy who notices when something is off but does not push until you are ready to talk. I ended up telling him the whole story over lunch. The basement, the rent increases, Derek, the credit card debt, the escape, all of it. When I finished, Marcus was quiet for a moment. Then he said something I will never forget. Family does not mean letting people use you, Tomasa. Love and respect go together. If someone loves you but does not respect you, that is not love. That is ownership. Those words rewired something in my brain. I had spent my whole life believing that being a good son, a good brother, meant sacrificing without question. But sacrifice should be a gift, not a tax. It should be voluntary, not mandatory. And it should go both ways. I started building a life for myself after that, really building it. I signed up for an advanced certification course that would qualify me for higher-paying jobs. I joined a gym and started working out 3 times a week. My neighbors, a young couple named Jake and Maria, invited me over for dinner one night, and we became friends. On weekends, I started exploring hiking trails outside the city, something I had always wanted to do, but never had the energy for when I was living under my parents' roof. About 3 months after I left, Aunt Ruth called with an update. "Things are rough at your parents' house," she said. "Without your rent, they had to cut back on how much they give Derek. He is actually working full-time now, has a real job at some warehouse. He is not happy about it, but he is doing it." I did not feel victorious hearing that. I did not feel vindicated. Mostly I just felt sad. Sad that it took me leaving for anything to change. Sad that my parents could not see what they were doing until the money stopped flowing. "Your mom asks about you every time I see her," Aunt Ruth added. "She misses you. She does not say it the right way, but she misses you." "I know," I said. "I miss her too. But I cannot go back to the way things were." "I do not think anyone expects you to," Aunt Ruth said. "But maybe someday when you are ready, you can figure out a new way." That someday came 6 months after I moved out. I agreed to meet my parents at a coffee shop in neutral territory. Not their house, not my apartment. Somewhere public, somewhere I could leave whenever I wanted. My mom looked older than I remembered, more tired. When she saw me walk in, her eyes filled with tears. "Tomasa," she said, "I have missed you so much." My dad stood slightly behind her, uncomfortable as always with emotional situations. He nodded at me. "Son." We sat down. We talked. My mom cried. My dad apologized, which I honestly never expected. "We made mistakes," he said. "We put too much on you and not enough on your brother. That was not fair." I listened to everything they said. I accepted their apology. But I also made something clear. "I love you both," I said. "But I need you to respect me as an adult. I need you to understand that I am not a backup plan for Derek. If we are going to have a relationship going forward, it has to be different than before. There have to be boundaries." They agreed. Whether they fully understood what that meant, I do not know. But it was a start. Derek texted me around the same time. A long message full of awkward apologies and admissions that he had been taking advantage of me for years. He said he was trying to do better, working full-time, paying his own bills, starting to understand what I had been dealing with. I texted back something short and simple. "I appreciate you saying that. Let us take things slow." That was a year ago. Today, I am still in my apartment, though I am saving up to buy a small condo. My relationship with my parents is better than it was, though we will never be as close as we might have been if things had been different. I visit on holidays, I call on birthdays, but I never stay overnight, and I never let them forget that I have my own life now. Derek and I are slowly rebuilding our relationship. He has grown up a lot in the past year. We grab lunch, sometimes talk about regular stuff. He has never asked me for money, and I think he finally understands why that matters. The biggest change, though, is in me. I used to think that being a good person meant putting everyone else first, that my worth was measured by how much I could give, how much I could sacrifice, how much I could endure without complaining. But that is not goodness. That is self-erasure. Leaving my parents' house was the hardest thing I have ever done. It meant walking away from the only family I have ever known, at least temporarily. It meant accepting that the people who were supposed to love me unconditionally had been loving me with a lot of conditions attached. But it also meant something else. It meant finally, for the first time in my life, choosing myself. Not out of selfishness, but out of self-respect. Not to hurt anyone, but to stop hurting myself. And that choice, that single decision to pack up my things and leave, changed everything. So if you are watching this, and you are in a similar situation, if you are the one who always pays, always sacrifices, always gets taken for granted, while someone else gets all the grace, I want you to know something. You are allowed to leave. You are allowed to set boundaries. You are allowed to demand respect. And walking away from people who refuse to give you those things is not betrayal. It is survival. Now I have a question for you. Have you ever been in a situation where you felt like the family ATM, where you were expected to give and give while someone else took and took? Drop your story in the comments. I would love to hear from you. If this video resonated with you, please hit that like button. It really helps the channel grow. Subscribe if you have not already, and share this video with someone who might need to hear it. Sometimes knowing you are not alone is the first step toward making a change. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And remember, loving your family does not mean losing yourself. Take care of yourself out there. You deserve it.